With me today is a very special guest from New York, the President-elect for the United Nations General Assembly. It's 76th session President-elect and also Maldives Foreign Minister. Welcome to WION, sir. You are someone who has been speaking to WION many times, but now, of course, you are wearing a new hat in a sense of someone who is, in a sense, the top diplomat of the core body of the United Nations. My first, of course, question is: so, what's your, in a sense, reaction or perhaps feeling of being at this post, a very, very high-profile post for, of course, your country, but also for yourself there in New York?
Sidhant, I'm deeply humbled by this election. And I am also at the same time very proud Maldivian today. This is a great honor for the Maldivian people, for the nation. Maldives is a small country, but we have been a responsible, committed member of the United Nations for the last 55 years. We became a member of the United Nations 3 months after we became independent. And I think this election has clearly shown that the current President Ibrahim Muhammad Saleh's foreign policy is well respected and received by the international community. It is indeed a great honor for the Maldives.
Mm-hmm. Sir, you got more than 140 votes. You, in fact, need a simple majority of around 96 or 97 in the General Assembly. It shows that a lot of countries in the world were vouching for you. How has been the entire process? Because you have been campaigning for a few months, in fact, more than a year now.
Well, I think the number of votes indicated, that number of votes we received indicated how the international community has received the Maldives, how the international community has received the presidency of hope that I proposed to the international community. You would know that last year has been a year of despair, death, sorrow, and pain for the entire world across the globe. I proposed a presidency of hope, which I promised that we will help us overcome these difficult times. We should be aiming to go over the hill. And I'm proposing that together the United Nations can lead this effort. I believe that the membership was also eager to take on this presidency of hope and give it to their constituents, the citizens of the world.
Mm-hmm. The presidency of hope, you have outlined your vision as well, the 5-point agenda. If you can just talk us through the 5-point agenda that you will be focusing or prioritizing under your presidency.
I proposed that my presidency would be built, the presidency of hope will be built on 5 rays of hope. The first ray of hope is recovering from COVID-19. COVID-19 is going to dominate the international agenda for several years to come. But we need to concentrate on 3 main points on it. Number 1 is a clear pathway in dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic with the ultimate aim of eradicating it. Number 2 is vaccine equity. No one is safe until everyone is safe, and we need to make sure that we provide vaccines to all. Number 3 is dealing with the economic impacts that it has created on all our countries. My second ray of hope is rebuilding sustainably. We started the new decade with the launching of the Decade of Action. But the pandemic has really dampened the Decade of Action. And now we have to start, reset the clock and restart building back better, building back greener, bluer, and stronger. And I believe that we can do it We need to reset the clock and recover, put into the recovery phase of it, make it a decade of recovery as well. The third ray of hope of my presidency would be responding to the needs of the planet. Both Sidhant, you, me, and everyone, we can hear, we can feel, we can see our Mother Earth, the planet, in pain. We need to address it. The pandemic once again has taken the focus away from the climate related issues, but these are not issues that we can put on the back burner. We need to start addressing it now. We have many major conferences coming up. The COP26 is coming up, the Oceans Conference is coming up, the COP15 on biodiversity is coming up, the Energy Summit is coming up. All these conferences are going to create a momentum, which I'm proposing that the United Nations General Assembly should harness and turn it into action. The fourth ray of hope I'm proposing is respect the rights of all, human rights. It has to be the center of all development issues and all issues. I believe that the United Nations Human Rights Commission and the Human Rights Council and the United Nations General Assembly together should be the conscience of the international community on human rights issues. We should prioritize such issues such as gender-based violence, violence against children, gender parity. We need to prioritize youth-related issues. These are the issues that we should start addressing with respecting the rights of all. And the fifth ray of, and the final ray of hope is revitalizing the United Nations. The United Nations needs to be stronger, and it needs to be transparent, accountable, and it needs to be efficient in order to deliver to the people. The United Nations General Assembly needs revitalization. It's a process that has been ongoing. We need to continue with the reform of the Security Council. We need to make sure that the Economic and Social Council is more stronger. These are my 5 rays of hope, and I believe that the clear vote that was cast yesterday showed that the membership wanted this presidency of hope to be reined in, so that the presidency of hope could be built on these 5 rays of hope.
So, and then there is the issue of terrorism as well, something called the Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism, calling for common definition for terrorism, has been languishing when it comes to the United Nations. There hasn't been any consensus. So what do you plan on the issue of terrorism, and specifically regarding this common definition of terrorism?
Well, the United Nations General Assembly 6th Committee, the legal committee, has been working on this definition, as you said, for a very long time. I hope that the definition would be reached by the membership soon, because we need a clear definition of terrorism to be reached soon.
So also, we know that COVID pandemic had completely changed how things work, especially when it comes to diplomacy. There hasn't been the high-level session happening the last year. It happened virtually. Do you plan to hold this year the high-level UN week physically or in a hybrid way? Any plans, sir?
I've spoken to the Secretary General on this. I've also spoken to the current president about it. The Secretariat and the current president is working on it. I will be consulting with them in detail again during this week. The need for the General Assembly to come back in some form of meetings is important. Now, yesterday we had the session in person, 1+1, meaning within the General Assembly Hall, each delegation is represented by 1+1. Which is a very limited number of people in the hall. Social distancing has to be abided. Wearing of masks is abided. So under these difficult circumstances, we would want the General Assembly to be functioning, but we cannot afford the General Assembly also to be a super cluster. So all precautions would be taken. However, it is important that we have some form of a high-level week this year.
Mhm. So do you plan to hold some, in a sense, a signature event under your presidency, which starts in September, a signature event which, of course, has, of course, your imprints in terms of people will in future remember that you were the person who highlighted or put in focus in that specific area or region under that specific or signature event?
I will be meeting my core team. I will be appointing my core team soon, and I will be meeting them before my travel back to the Maldives. And by September, I will be able to give you a detailed input to that question.
Mm-hmm. So also talking about India coming in support for your candidature, India in fact announced support way back last year when the Indian Foreign Secretary Harsh Shringla had visited your country, and then of course it was reiterated during External Affairs Minister visit to Maldives. So how do you see India coming, not only backing it, but also coming very early when the entire process in fact had gained momentum?
Well, I thank the Indian government, the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister, and also the Foreign Secretary for their outstanding support for the Maldives candidature. They were very kind, and I think India recognized the important role a country like the Maldives could play in the international arena, especially as the President of the General Assembly. I'm also grateful to many other countries who have so kindly expressed their support and continued backing me during this campaign.
Mm-hmm. So my last question to you, it's after a long time that a foreign minister or someone from South Asia has come to this post. So how will it increase, in a sense, the positioning of South Asia at a body which, of course, is known as the headquarters of world diplomacy?
Well, as you said, it's been a while since a South Asian diplomat had presided over the General Assembly. Indeed, it's a great honor for me, and I will try my best to keep the high level of diplomats that South Asia has created not disappointed.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much, sir, for speaking to WION as always, and congratulations again, sir, for your massive victory at the United Nations General Assembly.
Thank you very much, Sidhant. It's so good to see you. Hopefully, we'll be able to see you in person soon.
Thank you so much, sir.